There are some games that you don't just remember playing. You remember the feeling, the sound of loading into a lobby, choosing your class, and hearing the announcer call out the start of a match. Knowing that you're about to spend the next few hours playing with your friends. For a lot of people, Call of Duty Black Ops multiplayer was exactly that. But what made it so special? Because looking back, it wasn't just the guns, or the maps, or the kill streaks. It was the entire experience. But before we start talking about the game, let me first introduce myself. I'm Bachzy, and this is the first video on this channel. Honestly, I couldn't think of a better game to start with. I wanted to start making gaming videos since around 2011. I remember watching Call of Duty creators and thinking, I want to do that. Me and my friend David even tried. We didn't have capture cards or expensive equipment. We literally put a webcam on a bunk bed, pointing it at a TV, trying to record split screen gameplay. Looking back, the quality was absolutely terrible, but the idea was there. We always loved gaming, but especially those years where you just come home from school, jump online with your friends, and just play for hours on end. Multiplayer on Black Ops was just so different. For many people, it's where the game really became legendary. The maps, the weapons, the feeling of jumping into a lobby with your friends. Every match had something memorable. You'd have those games where everything went perfectly, you'd get an amazing kill streak, you'd have those moments where everyone was shouting as well, and then you'd have the games where you just get completely destroyed. But somehow you still wanted to play another one, and that's what made this Call of Duty special. It created moments. The multiplayer maps on this game were just great as well. I mean, let's just start with the obvious one, Nuketown. A map that somehow became one of the most famous Call of Duty maps ever created, and on paper it shouldn't have worked. It was tiny, it was chaotic, it was basically constant explosions, but that's exactly why people loved it. Every game was unpredictable. Then you had maps like Firing Range, a map that just felt perfect, every area had a purpose, you could rush, you could defend, you could have close range fights or longer engagements. It rewarded so many different playstyles. The thing about Black Ops maps was that they all felt different. Summit felt completely different to Jungle, Jungle felt completely different to Array. Every map had its own personality. And then you had the weapons. They were another huge part of why Black Ops worked. They weren't just numbers on a screen, every gun offered something unique. You had the Galil, FAMAS, the Commando, the AK-47, Olympia, Python, the L96 as well. Everyone had that one weapon that they trusted. Maybe it was the Galil, maybe the FAMAS, maybe you were that person running around with the Olympia trying to get a ridiculous kill. Who knows? If you've got a favourite gun or map, let me know in the comments. And then you had the creator class. This was just simple, but it gave players so much freedom at the same time. It was weird. You weren't overwhelmed with hundreds of attachments and systems that you could pick. You weren't looking up the best loadouts all the time. You just picked your weapon, your perks, your equipment, and you went straight in. The kill streaks as well were just simple. So why do people still talk about Black Ops multiplayer after all these years? I think it's because it got the balance right. It was easy to pick up, difficult to master, competitive without feeling exhausting, and it was chaotic without feeling random. So after coming back to Black Ops after all these years, is it just nostalgia? I don't think so. Of course nostalgia plays a part. It's impossible to separate a game from the memories you made while playing it. But a game doesn't become nostalgic because you were young, it becomes nostalgic because it gave you something worth remembering. Black Ops wasn't special because it was the game I played as a kid, it was special because it created experiences that stayed with me and so many others. Great games aren't just about graphics, they're about atmosphere, they're about characters, they're about moments, and Black Ops had so many of them. So let's talk about the PS5 release and what it means. If you had told me a month ago that I'd be spending my weekend playing Black Ops 1 again, I probably wouldn't have believed you. Like a lot of people, I'd moved on, life got busier, newer games came out, and Black Ops became one of those games that I look back on fondly rather than actually played. But then PlayStation gave us the chance to jump back in. And suddenly thousands of players, hundreds of thousands of players were returning at the same time. It was great. It wasn't just me revisiting an old favourite, it felt like an entire community had decided to come home. I will be honest though, I went into this expecting the nostalgia to wear off pretty quickly. I thought I'd play a few matches, smile at the menu music, lose a couple of games and move on. Instead, I found myself saying just one more game over and over and over again. Before I knew it, hours had disappeared, and that's exactly what Black Ops used to do. One of my biggest surprises though was just how easy it was to find games. I genuinely expected long queue times or the same handful of players every match. Instead, I was finding full lobbies, seeing different names every game, and jumping between playlists. It reminded me of what Call of Duty feels like when the community is all playing together. Although, Saying that, what surprised me most wasn't the player count, it was how natural the game still feels. The aiming definitely took a couple of matches to get used to again, but once I found the right sensitivity, everything just kind of clicked. The movement is simple, the gunfights are clean, every kill felt earned, and you spend less time fighting menus and more actually playing the game, which is brilliant. That said, though, there are still a few bugs that I'm hoping that they'll fix, but who knows? I mean, me and my friend David, actually, who I mentioned earlier, we're trying to queue together, but we're constantly on the other team to each other, and it's really strange, but, you know, hopefully they fix that one. Although it is looking promising, they are updating the servers, they're making sure that PS5 hosts are, you know, prioritized. There's more protections around host migrations now, and the controller dead zone has now been updated, which is awesome. So I'm hoping, just like many of you, that they're going to continue to update this game and give us the best experience that they can. So this is where the journey begins, and after wanting to make gaming videos since 2011, I finally stopped thinking about it and actually started. This channel is going to be about the games I grew up with, new releases, challenges, and hopefully creating some new memories along the way. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to stick around. I'm Bachzy, and I'll see you in the next one.